So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Beginners Mooting Workshop. I hope that you can hear me alright. If you are in chat, please do let me know that you can hear me fine, and that would be greatly appreciated. Hello Jamie. Yeah, if this is on my Facebook page, so you might get a few people popping in, but that shouldn't be an issue. So, hi everyone. So, this is UEA Introduction to Mooting. I just want to say a big thank you for all of those who are doing mooting this year. I appreciate it's a little bit different. We do understand that times are a little bit interesting. So this is hopefully how we're going to run workshops from now on. This is just going to be a kind of brief overview and introduction to mooting, and we will hopefully see lots of good things coming through. So let's crack on. So first part, what actually is mooting? I'm just waiting. Yep. Mooting is a presentation of a legal argument in a courtroom setting. Hi, Sophie. Sophie's one of our beginners mooting coordinators. You will see her. Obviously, kind of in the past, we would have had a actual lecture theatre. We could have had everyone up and talking. This is as close to it as we're going to get. This is what we're dealing with. So, what actually is mooting? Well, mooting is a presentation of your legal argument based on the research of the case facts. Now, this will be done as part of a team. You'll have as I'll get onto kind of later, the senior and junior counsel, and it'll be presented in front of the judges. In the early rounds, that'll be kind of composed of us and other kind of students who you'll get to know, I'm sure, lots of different judges. There's two parties. There's the appellants and the respondents, and both of them are going to argue on their own grounds of appeal in the direction of their case. The counsel's presenting their submission based on the facts of the present case and the research from other authorities. Now, research is as important in the moot as the actual oral advocacy aspect of it. You have to be correct in what you're saying. It does sound obvious, but it's surprising the amount of people who seek to contest moots on invalid or incorrect points of law. The case law will vary from moot to moot, and this is to ensure that we keep you on your toes a little bit, as well as introducing you to different areas of law that might interest you or you can seek to go and study later on in the university. The case law you will use in mooting this year, especially in the early rounds, I think we kind of add different aspects in later on, quarterfinals and semi-finals, for instance. These are all applicable for course subjects, and just kind of like from my own personal aspect, thorough mooting research makes for really good seminar notes because it gives you this incredible understanding of different case law and the cases that and the points of law and the cases that we kind of use in mooting are normally really seminal parts of the actual course subjects. So for me, it definitely helped for criminal and contract. So just kind of generally, a week before the actual moot, you will receive a case brief containing the case facts, the grounds of appeal, and information about the mooting round. So the length of submission, kind of general courtroom etiquette. After everyone, it does kind of contain that information. So yeah, just use that, and we'll get onto a little bit more about that later. So, what happens during a moot? Well, you may have heard from others that mooting is regarded as the toughest competition, and in all fairness, it probably is. Mooting is challenging on a number of levels, but it's a competition within which you're able to develop the most skills. There's a lot of practical skills that you develop here in mooting that you will not develop anywhere else. And so we really, really highly recommend sticking it out, even though it might seem tough at first. It's kind of immaterial whether or not you've done it before. I never did mooting before, and it's just something that you kind of just get on with and you pick up different skills as you go along. In regards to the senior and junior counsels, there really isn't a difference in kind of superiority. It's not a case of the best person being the senior or the worst person being the being a junior. It's just a matter of who introduces their sides, as well as the fact that the seniors have a slightly longer submission. We recommend that the senior and junior counsel alternate between rounds, just to kind of allow you to get a feel for it. In the future rounds, the senior counsel for the appellant is also tasked with a rebuttal, which is normally a 5-minute closing statement in which you can respond to the arguments of the respondents. It's kind of like the final say, and it can be a really useful tool to kind of address what the other side have said and try and kind of quash their legal points. The bench of judges who will hear your submissions. Yes, so as I mentioned before, in the earlier rounds, the judges will be students. There will always be at least 2 judges who will hear the submissions, as well as interjecting with questions that you'll be marked on. I'll get to marking criteria later on. The questions are really where we test the research and knowledge of the surrounding case law. This is where the best mooters flourish, as you do have to be able to improvise and react. These questions aren't designed to trip you up. We're not, trying to be mean or anything, I promise. We're just trying to instead guide you on an area of law to kind of really test your understanding of the case law. And this is something that it might seem difficult at first, but it's something that you can anticipate actually when you're doing your research, when you come across different points in case law where you feel that there's a weakness in an argument that's been made, and you can kind of prepare yourself for a question. And that's when you really start to develop some incredible comebacks that we really do appreciate as judges. When writing your submission, do make sure that you are aware of the difference between what is a binding authority and what is a persuasive authority. If you're researching a case and intend to use it, you may have to be asked whether or not the court is bound by it, or whether it's just a piece of persuasive authority. The difference between them largely is that the binding cases are those which have taken place in the same level of court as the one in which the moot is taking place, or in higher levels within England and Wales, and they are binding for the court. We have to follow those. If it's persuasive, it's normally a piece of academic literature, or it's a case which has been decided in a Commonwealth country. Do avoid using cases that have been overruled. I'll refer back to that a little bit later on in the workshop. In future rounds, we do bring in external judges. These are legal professionals, normally barristers, who come in to judge and give feedback. This is absolutely invaluable. Never underestimate the impact of leaving a good impression on a barrister, nor the value of their feedback. Submission times will be addressed in the mooting handbook, which again, I'll get onto it later. But you will also receive the submission time in each case brief that you receive, as I've said before. It'll kind of just say senior counsel 5 minutes, junior counsel 5 minutes. But that does increase as the rounds progress. So, how do you win a moot? So you don't actually win on case grounds. It's a bit of a common misconception. It's not whoever wins on their grounds of appeal wins a case. In fact, you're marked individually on your oral advocacy, but then there is an overall team score, and this is what we use to judge the kind of winners and losers, as it were. After this workshop, everyone will be sent a blank scoring sheet, and this is going to show you exactly what we see when we're marking and how we're going to present your marks throughout the competition. These scoring sheets will be emailed to you after the moot, filled in, and they'll have little comments as well as your overall mark. So although each counsel is marked individually for oral advocacy, these marks are added together alongside written advocacy and moot engagement to give a team score out of 100. It's crucial to remember that your marks are completely independent of your success on grounds of appeal in the actual moot. You can win the case and still perform poorly, or lose the case and perform excellently. Do not worry if you lose the grounds. It is all about the performance. So let's kind of break down the 3 key areas on which you're going to be marked on. So oral advocacy, which are the individual marks, that's on your presentation courtroom manner. So that's etiquette, correct use of terminology, your speaking, how you interact with the court. Your second part is the arguments and authorities in oral advocacy. So this is the actual submission itself. So have you used the correct things? What authorities have you relied on? Have you gone a little bit out of the box? This is really where the research element comes in, and it's a presentation of that. And finally, for oral advocacy, you'll be marked on your interventions. Again, this is how you respond to the judge's questions. Don't worry if you find it difficult at first. These questions can be quite tricky. There's numerous examples I've had in previous moots where I've had a question which I felt really stumped me. But if you know the case law, you will have that question in front of you, and you will just know roughly what to say. Again, we do kind of allow a little bit of kind of ponderance. You can kind of ask for a little bit of time to think about the question and kind of build up your response. So the next area which you're judged on as a team is the written advocacy. Don't worry about this for the practice round, because this is all based on your skeleton argument and your bundles, and that's going to be addressed in a later workshop within the year. So finally, the moot engagement. This includes council attire. So yes, although we are doing online workshops, we do expect you to kind of follow the council attire, so it does have to be smart. So it's suits with ties for the boys, and kind of smartly dressed for the girls. I think normally we see kind of plain white shirt is absolutely okay, black skirt and black shoes. Please wear smart shoes. You don't want to turn up to court or turn up to the moot in a suit and pair of trainers. You're not going to get good marks for that. Teamwork. So digital teamwork will be a little bit different to physical teamwork. You can't speak in a moot between the teams. When the other side is presenting, you can't speak to your partner. You will be marked down for that. So normally you kind of write notes to each other. This can be kind of timekeeping, so saying how long your teammates got left, or just kind of notes based on their performance. Maybe just a little gentle reminder saying, oh, you've left this case out, or circle back to that, or even move on from it. And we do kind of keep an eye on that, and I'll get to how it's going to work through digitally this year later on. And then moot engagement is just the final bit, is just timekeeping, being attentive, not kind of switching off when it's not your turn to speak, turning up to moot on time, sending your skeleton and bundles through on time. These are just little areas which, if you just focus on and just kind of pay attention to, and just a little bit of common sense, they're easy marks to pick up, and it can really be the difference when it comes on. So straight after the moot, we will give you feedback on general areas. This is normally based on your submission. Although we kind of talk about this, in the score sheets. It will normally be in less detail. We do kind of spend about 5 to 10 minutes just kind of talking through different things that we've found. I always found it useful to note down positive and negative feedback. Remember, this criticism will be constructive. We're not kind of just going after you. We're only looking to offer comments that would aid development and your future performance at mooting. It is all good stuff, largely. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So, what is the round structure? So the practice round is all about getting a feel for the competition. Having a good round isn't a necessity. It's more about being aware of your strengths and weaknesses and appreciating what it means to compete in a moot. There are no knockouts this round, so don't worry about that. The first round, or kind of like first round proper, is where we do introduce knockouts. This is where the teams with the lowest scores from this round may be eliminated. There are no guaranteed eliminations in this round, but they still may occur. Round 2, we introduce skeleton arguments. There will be, as I've mentioned, a future workshop on this and bundles, but they're just essentially an overview of your case direction that is sent to the opponents and judges at least 24 hours before the moot goes ahead. This is how you can begin to anticipate the points that your opponents will make, and maybe even try to factor in countering those statements or those anticipated arguments into your own submission. For round 3, we bring in bundles. Again, this is included in the workshop with skeleton arguments. In the past, we used physical bundles, which are pretty costly, time-consuming, and a little bit of an environmental dent, if we're being honest. So this year, for the first time, we'll be doing electronic bundles, or e-bundles. This is very exciting, trust me. The skills that you develop on e-bundles will assist you for both university and professional work life, especially if you decide to enter into a legal profession. Round 3 we hope to hold after the Christmas break, and this, fingers crossed, this is the first physical moot that we do. Obviously, all things considered, but this is the first physical one. Quarterfinals, we bring in external judges. This is where the going does get serious. At this stage, you've already accomplished a great deal, and to be honest, it looks fantastic on a CV. If you do want to become a barrister, when you're talking to a chambers, having got quite far in mooting always looks good. It really does, and that'll be something they look for. Semi-finals. They are normally hosted in an external location, and they kind of bring in a mixture of external and internal judges. So my kind of experience, I got to the advanced semi-finals last year, which I was really proud of. It was a big deal for me. I was very happy about it. It's a really great opportunity. I found we went to the flagship offices. There was a sitting barrister who kind of gave notes. It was very intense, but at the same time, it really did. At that point in time, it really did begin to feel almost real, And the cases will be quite complex. The submissions will be quite long, but it's so worth it when you do actually nail a point in front of a room full of people. So to be in the Final Four is a really great accomplishment, and I'm not just saying it because I made it. If you do make it to final, congratulations. You've literally just won a prize. Finalists for Beginners Mooting win a prize regardless of whether or not they're victorious in that round or not. Again, this is an external location of external judges, and we're hoping to hold this one before Easter. Again, we are really hoping that we can do physical moots, and especially for the semi-finals and grand finals once we start getting to external locations. We'll keep you updated on that because obviously we don't really know, but in the past we've normally kind of held it at flagship offices and they've been great, and I'll talk a little bit more about flagship later on. The grand final, now that's held between the winners of both the beginners and advanced competition winners. This has in the past been held in the Supreme Court with a Supreme Court judge. Again, we'll see kind of how that goes. Again, it's been held in Norwich County Court as well before, with a sitting judge. So I'll keep you updated on that as and when we kind of find out. But for obvious reasons, not a lot of people are doing a great amount of planning right now with regards to allowing people back into courts. This is due to take place after Easter. So you will get a little break between the final and grand final. So we've talked a lot about mooting and rounds and that sort of thing, but how is it actually going to take place this year? It is going to be different. I think that goes without saying. The nature of mooting has to change because everything's changed, but our key aim is to ensure continuity when we transition back. We hope to transition back to physical moots as soon as we possibly can, but we want the transition back to be smooth. And crucially, for the skills that you develop in the initial rounds of a competition, we want those skills to be applicable in the physical rounds of a competition. I'm not going to lie, we've worked really hard as a committee with the Director of Competitions, Ellie Rose, with Maggie, to ensure that the continuity is paramount and that the transition back is smooth, because your enjoyment of mooting is crucial to us. That's the most important thing. And I hope so many of you enjoy it, that you continue mooting throughout your time at UEA or even apply to be on the committee. It is a little bit stressful, but it's very satisfying to be able to kind of run mooting and to try and get people to do mooting and give them the same experience that you had. I really enjoyed mooting. It was never something I did before UEA, and when I did it, I just fell in love with it. And so it's been something that I've always, if I wasn't on the committee this year, I think I said this in my interview, if I wasn't on the committee, I'd be mooting. So I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do, and that's my key aim, is just to get as many people interested in it as I am. So as you can appreciate, holding physical moots is obviously impossible. So we've had to seek a valid and effective solution. We believe that we've found this using Microsoft Teams. So one upside, obviously, is that there's less travel involved. You don't have to come into uni for mooting. They are easier to schedule. All the invites are sent to your email, and they should just go straight into your calendar, and you can alter it so you get a reminder the day before, half an hour before, an hour before. But yeah, we're looking for ease of access in this, and we believe Microsoft Teams is the best way to do that. So similar to previous years, we will send out the round list a while before the moot, showing you which side you're representing, as well as who you're against for that round. But that will come separately to the actual Teams invitation. So in terms of workshops, if this current workshop kind of format works well for everyone, then this will be how we proceed with them until I could actually physically get into a lecture hall and have you sitting down in front of me. But so I'm doing at the moment, I'm streaming live on Facebook, and then also hopefully saving the video on Facebook Live so you can access it from the UEA members page. I also will be uploading this, fingers crossed, if it all goes planned. I have done a couple of tests, but you never know. I will be uploading this to YouTube, and it would be really great if people could just give me some feedback on which format they use the most, which one they found most useful, because obviously if people were saying that the YouTube video was easy to access but they couldn't interact, then that's an issue. Whereas if people are saying that they might find it difficult to get onto Facebook in time for the actual event, I want to ensure that as many people see this as possible. So please just give me feedback on that, and we can kind of proceed with what works best for everyone. And like I said, normally I would have the other brilliant members of committee alongside me, but unfortunately with how this workshop takes place, you're going to have to eagerly wait until the rounds to meet them. We do have Sophie in chat right now, so hi Sophie, thanks for coming. Bundles being electronic this year. Oops. Yes, I will touch far more on bundles when we get to that workshop, but the transition is quite exciting. I do really wish that my bundles were electronic, as Domino's budget was severely depleted by expenditure on printing, ring binders and post-its. Didn't know post-its cost so much, but now unfortunately I do know how much they cost. So just a few tips and tricks for mooting. Being respectful to all parties at all times. It might, again, sound obvious, but it's something you've got to be careful of. Yes, this is a competition. Yes, you are contesting points of law, but no, you're not in an argument. It's brilliant to see competitors really engage with the moot passionately, and there are some cases which do have quite an emotive substance, but this is still, by and large, a friendly competition. Not that I can think of any particular instances in the past, but it bears no reminding. Disrespect and rudeness are not tolerated in mooting. Correct terminologies and etiquette. There will be more on courtroom etiquette and terminologies in the handbook, which I'll be sending out later. I think I'm getting to that hopefully soon. But some of the basics are kind of referring to the judges as my lord and my lady. Avoid using casual phrases like I think, I would say, or in my opinion, and do not use first names for either the other side or the judges. Getting acquainted with oral citations, that is in the handbook. It's a little bit different from anything that people have done before. It can kind of take a while to get a grasp on, but once you've kind of followed the format, I think there are some really good oral referencing websites as well that you can kind of follow. Once you do get a grasp on it, it just becomes second nature. It's quite useful as well when you're actually in seminars and you're referring to a case. But yeah, it's a part of it. It's a new learning curve, but you'll get used to it. Timekeeping. Keeping track of time is huge. It is always impressive when a competitor is fully aware of how much time they have spent and how much they have left. You will be penalised for either lengthy submissions or ones which are too short. We do normally tell you when you have a minute left, but if the worst thing you want to have is seeing that minute left sign come up, looking down and realising you've got 2 points of your submission still to go. You want to avoid either rushing your submission or missing out on points because of poor time management. So this is something this is where the practice aspect comes in, where you know how long you're speaking for. Remember, do leave time for interventions and questions from the judges. We will ask them, and they will take a chunk out of your time. So kind of just be prepared to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe even on your script, just know which points are key. So worst comes to worst, you are saying these points because you don't want to miss out on any key points, which we might refer back to in our judgment and say, if you had said this, it would have been this case. So something, again, practice really does play into a huge part of it. Maintaining eye contact with the judges. So this is demonstrative both of your knowledge of the grounds as well as engagement with the moot. If you know your grounds and your submission really well, you don't need to read off a script. You can kind of just have it there for assurance and reference. And written notes really are there for support. You don't want to be reading it entirely nose to paper, especially when you get into the later rounds, when you bring in external judges. This is something they highlight all the time. In every single moot I've been in with external judges, they have said, we really like it when someone is standing up, occasionally glancing at a piece of paper. It's recommended that you kind of do try to wean yourself off of full scripts and more towards like directive scripts in later rounds. By that stage, that is kind of should be. It's difficult. It really is. I completely understand. It's practice. What can I say? It's something that you will get used to, but it is something that if you've done kind of public speaking or kind of dramatic performances before, you might be in a little bit of advantage. But even if you haven't, it's fine. But just kind of be aware of the fact that if you do that, it's just so impressive for us. Avoid rushing your submission. You are quicker than you would think. It's probably been the case when I've been giving this lecture that I've been talking quite quickly. Generally, you almost certainly talk faster than you think you do, especially when you're under pressure. When you're given a moot, sometimes they will say to you, you have to slow it down, you have to slow it down in the feedback. And you may think in future moots that when you're following that, you're talking ridiculously and slow. But in reality, when you slow down your submission, you allow for far greater clarity. And it is a key public speaking tool. One thing as well, which was touched upon quite a few times, leaving pauses after your brilliant statements does add that extra level of punchiness. Dramatics and flair are always appreciated. If you've just made a really crucial point of law, something you're really proud of, you've found this out and you've kind of summed it up nicely, you can just let it sit there for a while. Let the judges kind of drink it in and then move on. It gives us that extra time to kind of really feel the impact of your statement. Always conclude your submission with a conclusive statement. Please do not just end your submission. If you're talking and then suddenly you just sit down, we're going to be very confused. Think of it like an essay where you would provide a closing statement and just kind of round it off. Closing statements to summarize your position is a great opportunity to highlight your best points and reminding the judges of what they are. You've got to remember that there is a lot of things that we have to be attentive to in the moot. So if you can kind of provide that helpful summary for us at the end where you really just kind of go through your key points, that's going to do wonders. So a few helpful materials. There are some out there. Future skill development workshops, I've touched on those before. They will come. Again, just kind of attend, pay attention. They do contain useful kind of tips, tricks, and also it's always something to refer back to. I'll be sending out this PowerPoint as well as all the PowerPoints for the workshops. Unfortunately, I can't send you my script. Another one that I have is a BPP PowerPoint on how to succeed in mooting. It really is excellent. I wish I could have incorporated it more into the present workshop, but unfortunately it's pretty lengthy and it contains clips and graphs and all sorts of kind of multimedia goodies which demonstrate great mooting skills. Don't feel pressured to go through it all because it is quite long. But keep it in the back of your mind if you're kind of concerned about kind of oral citation or even kind of how to submit. It's got everything, and it gives examples, and it's just something that you can kind of cross-reference your various skills, and more importantly, see them in action. See what the difference is when in terms of talking with overt passion and kind of going too into it, and how that comes across, and how if you kind of a little bit more kind of monotone, how that can come across with judges, and you can kind of see where your style fits in. And what kind of you want to emulate. So yeah, I'll send that out. That will all come out after this workshop. You're going to get a bit of an email splurge. Sorry about that. Legal method lectures do contain really valuable tools for mooting, especially when it comes to research and submission stage. So one part of that is the legal libraries, which I believe Legal Method does. It's been a while, but Legal Method does touch heavily upon those. I personally recommend using Westlaw. You can, of course, always use LexisNexis, but one of the reasons why I find Westlaw to be so useful is due to the fact that it shows you the progression and status of case law. As I mentioned prior, you do want to avoid using overruled case law, and the information given on Westlaw is great for determining this and avoiding those cases which have been overruled. So, finally, the the mooting handbook and scoring sheet. That will be coming to you soon. Recent developments have warranted quite a considerable rewrite of the old mooting handbook. A lot of it is staying the same, but there are reasonably significant portions which we have kind of had to go back through with a fine-tooth comb and take things out because they're just not going to be relevant. But that will be sent through later on this week. It is the mooting handbook is a veritable Bible of mooting. It is unbelievably useful. It has everything, all the frequently asked questions. It's quite a long document. Again, don't have to kind of rigorously comprehend it and be able to verbally quote it, but it's that reference point. If you have a question, it's probably in there, and if it's not, you can always send an email. So people you can kind of email for general queries, myself, Sophie, Grice, Jester ran off goal if you're an advanced, just in case, I guess. But you can also always message Tim Vickers, Selena Watts, and Ellen Sweet Escott. They are all kind of mooting tutors, and if you have any points, obviously they can't direct you in certain things. It's a bit like an essay. They can't give you the answers, but they might be able to kind of nudge you in the right direction. So feel free to email those people. But again, like I'd say, first point of call, mooting handbook, which will come later on, hence coming soon. All right. So just a little bit about our sponsor. So our sponsor is the Flagship Group for Mooting. They've been our sponsor for quite a long time, and they're a huge part of the law school. If you haven't seen them or you haven't heard about them yet, you will do in the future, almost certainly. So who are they? Well, Flagship are a large housing group which are located in the east of England. Their main purpose is providing homes for those in need. They seek to end the housing crisis across the entirety of east of England. It sounds like a massive project, and it is, but they've been doing tremendous work to ensure they've actually done incredible work in doing it. And I think their plan is within the 30-year period to be completely done, and they're on target. It's tremendous. They're exceptionally ethically responsible, and they have a key focus on local employment and apprenticeships. The law school at UEA has long been allied with Flagship due to the fact that Flagship has often been an employer of UEA law graduates. Indeed, we've been working closely with their legal department, which has former UEA students in, over the summer to ensure that the outcomes in terms of sponsorships are great for both parties. And they are a very multifaceted corporation. They have different departments and everywhere. They have a huge legal department, again, really good legal department, but that's not the only department that UEA law students can go into. Law, as I'm sure you're aware, is a very useful degree. It can open up a lot of avenues, not necessarily just legal professions, but elsewhere, and Flagship are exceptionally accommodating. What can they offer? Well, they are currently our competition sponsor, and this means that in the past they've offered for prizes both unpaid and paid work experience, so the finalists and the winners respectively. We are aiming to ensure this continues, but we are aware of the fact that this is dependent on the resolution of the COVID crisis. Right now their offices aren't open, and as we've been speaking to Flagship, they've said that they don't feel that it's fair to kind of offer a diminished prize. So in their eyes, and in our eyes as well, we completely agree on this. It wouldn't be fair to you to offer you a work experience which doesn't have the kind of full entailment of the enjoyment and kind of physical presence of a 2-week paid work experience, which is a brilliant prize. However, Flagship has worked tirelessly with us to provide the best prizes possible, regardless of whether or not people are allowed back in the office and they can do physical work experiences. We are still in the process of finalising the prize package, but there are a few things that I kind of tell you about in terms of the things that were discussed. So there is potential for training with different teams that they have. So for example, the communications team do a lot of kind of like social media training and different training mentoring things, and they also have incredibly detailed mentoring schemes with one-on-one tutelage from different people from different areas and key departments. We have worked closely with Flagship this summer. We will continue to do so to ensure that best outcomes are available to you, no matter the situation. And that is something that we are promise we will uphold, and Flagship have been absolutely brilliant for that. Is there anything further you can do in regards to Flagship? So, in regards to furthering your name and getting noticed by Flagship, one way is to excel at mooting. This will put you on their radar, I guarantee it. In addition, we will have future workshops and sponsor meetings down the line, hopefully some physical. We used to do kind of this really nice like social thing where Flagship came in, you can talk to them, you can talk to kind of like mooting competitors, but it's a great way. It's employability, so definitely kind of look out for that. I'll send you many things about that in the future, I promise. As soon as we know, you'll know. Just attend them, make your presence known. Flagship loves students who put themselves out there and interact with the company. Remember, some of those at Flagship are past UEA students, so they know exactly what you have to deal with, but they're also aware of the type of student a Flagship loves to have. Check employability. I believe Ellen Sweet Escott is the main person for employability. There should be quite a bit on employability in regards to Flagship. Like I said, they're a key sponsor and employment advocate. And in the physical work fairs in the past, they've always kind of been front and center. And as soon as those employability events return, Flagship will be there. Furthermore, we will have some social media posts about Flagship on our social media, which is, if you haven't followed us yet, please do. On the final slide, I've actually got our tag. I'll also be sending out a link to our YouTube channel. We might put some kind of sponsorship posts on there as well as kind of all the workshops, potentially some clips of mooting. This is brand new. This is the first time I've ever managed a YouTube channel. It is a little bit exciting, a little bit kind of nerve-wracking and daunting, but it's something that we hope you'll be able to interact with it a lot easier because it's always accessible. So look out there. Please subscribe, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it about Flagship. I know we don't have a great amount of people, but if there are any questions, now's the time to bring them up. If not, you can always email me. You can always leave a comment, I guess, on YouTube if you feel like that'd be really useful. But like I said, the best way kind of would be email me. I've emailed some of you in the past, and I think some of you have emailed me as well. Yeah, it's just it's a great way to get into contact. But it doesn't seem like there are any, which is not an issue. So apart from that, generally, good luck everyone. There is our Instagram handle. We've got I think Sophie knows a lot more about this than I do. We've got kind of Instagram bios which are coming out. Like we've got a big post coming on about all the different members. And you can kind of see, well, first of all, kind of see our stories, and I think we've got some clips or like photos of us in action, which is a bit weird, but yeah, please follow us on Instagram, and we'll have lots of things come out there. But apart from that, good luck. I really hope that you enjoy mooting as much as I have in the past. And yeah, don't be nervous. Practice round. Take your time. Get to grips. And yeah, just good luck. See you later.